It is Farmin FriYAY. It's also moving day for the Wilson Post, where our studios are in Wilson County. So we'll be moving. So just letting you know, the next couple of weeks might be a little different, a little dicey. So we're doing some pre-tapes just to make sure we get everything all hooked up and operational for the future. We've got a brand new show airing on Sunday called Devin's Table. I cannot wait till you see that. We're going to load that in, and it's going to be airing. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about a new center. Now, this has nothing to do with farming, but one of the reasons that I loved having my farm where I am is its close proximity to Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. Vanderbilt bought a hospital that was existing, and they did a huge renovation, and they have extended the services, including a new trauma center that they created. And it is the only trauma center in this area, in this side of town. It's so for the people who have agricultural injuries, if things happen on farms, and we have a lot of agriculture in this area, knowing that there's a trauma center for traumatic injury right here close to home where minutes count, it's really important. And for that, we're going to meet the director of the trauma center. He is, let me get it just right, because it's a mouthful. The trauma medical director. He hails from the Southwest, but he married a young lady that is from here. And she says, no, we're coming back to Middle Tennessee. So when this position opened up, it is absolutely perfect, and you're going to absolutely love him. Dr. Andrew Hopper, the trauma medical director of Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. I wanted to make sure I had all of the title correct.
Yes.
Because when you walked in, it was very casual and said, hi, I'm Andrew. And I find that this hospital feels that way sometimes. It's very hometown and family when people come in. The care feels that way.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And that was one of the things that when Vanderbilt purchased this hospital, they understood that there was a strong sense of community associated with this hospital, and they didn't want to take that away. You know, a lot of times at a big academic center, you kind of lose that community sense of well-being. And so they have made every sort of effort to make sure that that is present at Wilson County. You're exactly right.
Everything at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital got the spotlight when we announced that we would have the first trauma center in Wilson County. What does that mean? What does that mean for all of us in Wilson County?
Yeah. So in June, we were granted provisional status by the state to become a level 3 trauma center. And they actually sent out representatives from the state trauma board to review our hospital. It's a very extensive process. We've been working on this for many months, years, in terms of preparing for their coming to visit us. But it's a long application, and in addition to all the paperwork, they actually send out those representatives who tour our facility, make sure that we have the appropriate equipment, the appropriate staff and resources in order to provide trauma care for the people of Wilson County. So after that site review, they gave us the green light and said, yes, you are approved to be a provisional level 3 trauma center. And under the next year, over the course of next year, we'll be kind of in that provisional status. They'll come back in 2023 and do another site review, and that's when they actually look at, you know, how we've taken care of patients, for trauma patients, for the past year. And as long as we've done a good job, which we're fully expecting to, then we'll get that final stamp of approval. But it's been very, very exciting for the hospital. It's been a goal for Vanderbilt as well as Wilson County Hospital to bring a trauma center out here. We are now the easternmost trauma center in Middle Tennessee. Wilson County has never had a trauma center before. And so there's a lot of firsts associated with this certification. And, you know, it's important that we're bringing this quality of care and this level of care to the people of Wilson County and the surrounding counties.
Can you tell me, the base question for those people who don't understand what this means for us. What is a trauma center?
Yeah. So, in sort of just basic terms, it means that we can take care of patients that are traumatically injured. And so who are those patients? That means the patient who ends up in a motor vehicle accident on Interstate 40. It means that the patient who was out riding an ATV and flipped their ATV can come and see us, or the patient who's a victim of some sort of penetrating trauma, i.e. a gunshot wound or a stabbing, can come in and see us. Being a level 3, so there's different levels that you can be certified. Level 1, which is the highest level, is what Vanderbilt, the downtown campus, is, and that means that they have any and all subspecialties that you may possibly need when it comes to a trauma patient, specifically like neurosurgery and cardiothoracic surgery. We don't have those capabilities here, and so that's why we're a level 3 facility. But number one, we have the ability to kind of stabilize these critically ill trauma patients, and if it is something that we can handle here and we don't need a neurosurgeon or a cardiac surgeon, then we can keep those patients here. If they need expanded subspecialty coverage, then those patients, because of our relationship with the downtown campus, being affiliated with Vanderbilt, can easily be transferred downtown for that subspecialty care. We've gone out and we've spoken with a lot of EMS providers in the community, WEMA, and some of these rural communities don't have the amount of ambulances that a place like Nashville Fire does, right? They may only have 1 or 2 ambulances that serve that community, and so if you take a patient and have to go all the way downtown, you're adding maybe an extra hour to 2 hours in terms of transport time, dealing with Nashville traffic and getting in and out of the downtown campus. And so if we're able to care for that patient right here in Wilson County, that ambulance can get to a rural community in a much shorter amount of time and get on to helping the next patient that may have a problem. So from a EMS perspective, it was very, very important to open up a trauma facility or trauma hospital here in Wilson County. The other component to that is families and patients. And it's hard for families to make it all the way to downtown. Again, the traffic is bad, the price of hotels is very expensive, and the downtown campus, it's so big, so massive, it can be confusing for patients and families in terms of navigating that. And so we are basically bringing high quality trauma level care to Wilson County so that patients can stay in their own community or nearby their own homes, and families can have easy access to their loved one while they're here in the hospital. So those are all sort of the reasons that we thought building and establishing a trauma facility at Wilson County was so important.
I just loved getting to meet Dr. Andrew Hopper, and it really does. And that not only affects Wilson County, but if you're on an outlying county that's doesn't even have a hospital at all, instead of thinking about driving from Smith County or Trousdale all the way in, you can make the move to come to Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital close to home and at least get stabilized to either go in or maybe be treated completely right here close to home. Farm Credit brings us Farmin FriYAY every week. It's a wonderful organization, but what do they do? Pay attention to this and you'll find out.
Many lenders work in agriculture, but only one works for it. Mission-driven and owned by the producers we serve, we help customers manage risk, grow their success, and achieve goals. More than just another lender in agriculture, we strive to be its most valued. Discover a lender that works for you at Farm Credit Services of America.
Hello, my name is Sam King. I work for the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, and today we're going to be looking at how to remove invasive shrubs from your property using leverage tools. So a leverage tool grabs the base of the plant and pulls it out by the root. This is especially helpful because if you can get all of the root out of the plant from the ground, then the plant won't grow back. So you hook the tool around the base of the plant and then pull it out. So pulling the plants out with leverage tools is a little more labor intensive, but you can see on this honeysuckle bush where it's been cut to the ground several times. And when that happens, the roots continue to grow and get stronger, and it continues to send out new stems, and over time it gets very hard to remove the plant.
This is the time of year to check those invasive plants all around your house. Maybe they're shrubs that you grow near your house. Make sure that they're not approaching and messing with the foundation. Sometimes it can cause cracks in your foundation. You have no idea. It can get into the water lines and things like that. Make sure that all of the root systems for any of the plants that are close to your house are not invasive. And that little tool, wasn't that an interesting little tool? I thought that was just so cool how that worked. Stormwater runoff. When we are having our storms, the water gushes in Middle Tennessee. You know what I'm talking about. It moves fast, it moves furiously, and the runoff goes right into the rivers and lakes where we fish, where we boat, where we have our fun. Well, there's a lot to do with stormwater runoff, and there are people that work with it all the time to make sure that we have safe runoff. And I thought it was really important to go to Gallatin, where the UT Extension Service has an office talking specifically because they are the friendliest town in America and they've got that beautiful lake. We want to protect it, right?
Hello, my name is Jennifer Watson. I am the Stormwater Coordinator with the City of Gallatin, and with me is Lance Wagner. He's our Stormwater Utility Manager with the City of Gallatin. He's going to be on stormwater, urban runoff, and the water cycle. And Lance is going to take over and kind of give us an idea of this is a simulation of a city.
Hello, yes. This is our water table here at the City of Gallatin, and this is a demonstration that we like to use to demonstrate how pollution runs off into our streams, our creeks, what causes it, what creates it, and then gives people an understanding of why we need to keep our waterways clean and clear and why we need to keep things clear for the city. Also shows how we need to manage our systems in the city. So here we go. We have a demonstration of a subdivision area, a construction site area, an industrial facility, and then a farm facility. And of course the roads, the bridges, and the channels, the streams, the creeks, and the lake that connects it all together. And we always like to say this is very much like our home here in Gallatin, because we have this lake, and of course behind us you see Old Hickory Lake. So it feels very much like the City of Gallatin in a lot of ways. So as you can see, we have our areas, and it's kind of dirty. From the construction site, we have dirt. From the subdivision sites, we have a little bit of dirt that comes from cars and grits and whatnot. And of course, the farming areas where the farmers plowed up the fields, and in the industrial facility, smokestacks and maybe some trash. And now, what happens when it rains on this scenario?
I'm acting like this is rainfall. Coming down heavier and heavier. Got a big, fast, intense rain event. The faster it rains, the more water runs off these impervious areas. Impervious areas are areas like sidewalk, pavement, rooftops, roads. These are areas where water can't soak into the ground, and instead the water, the rain falls down, hits that impervious area, and runs off into the storm drain and then gets into the creeks. And you're about to see here what happens when this pollution, sediment, fertilizer, trash, chemicals, cigarette butts, they get picked up by the rain, get washed, and starts to flow into the river. Look at that. You can see it mixing, going downhill, going into our storm drains, off our bridges, down the roads, off the farmers' plots. And look at that poor lake. It's receiving every one of these pieces of pollution. Just everything, all water runs downhill, off the roads, off city streets, off your rooftop, a parking lot, commercial Kmart parking lots, and look, just makes a total mess into our river, into our lake.
So I like to point out too, from a construction site, you can see our creeks, our streams, what happens to those soils and the dirt from the construction site? What happens from the pollution from the subdivision, from cars and grits and grimes? It comes down to our stream areas. So in this demonstration, you can really see and get a quick visualization of why we need to protect those and why we need to keep streets clean, construction sites to themselves and clean, why we regulate industrial facilities. It all comes down to our streams, our creeks, and eventually here in Gallatin, our lake, our Old Hickory Lake.
And as you know, or maybe you don't know, this lake is our source of drinking water. So we want to make sure that any pollution that comes off our streets or our homes or parking lots, all of that runs in a storm drain, goes down the ditches, and then is immediately emptied into the lake. It's not treated. So it's important that we, as citizens of Gallatin or Hendersonville or Sumner County, Tennessee, that we all do our part to keep trash, to keep cigarette butts, to keep plastic bags, to keep all pollution off the streets, off our homes, off our lawn, and not get into our storm drains and into the lake. We want clean drinking water. We want our fish to be happy too. So now you know why it's important to keep your home, your yard clean, and not to throw anything out of the windows, and not to ever throw any trash or bags out on parking lots. So the reason again is to make sure we keep our water clean and safe for you to play in, to fish in, and to get drinking water from. So if you have any questions or you think there might be some pollution happening around you, feel free to give us a call at the Stormwater Division for the City of Gallatin. You can find us on our website, which is thegallatintn.gov, and we have a whole stormwater section that can tell you all about water pollution and how to keep your home and area clean. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We have such beautiful lakes here and waterways. We want to keep them as clean as we possibly can. And I didn't even think about some of the storm runoff. You have those big washing storms. Well, guess what? You know, if you change your oil and it's there, if you have things around your area and you're at the top of the hill and it washes down, just think that all goes into our waterways and our storm drains. And even if it goes into a storm drain, it still goes into the waterways. So think about proper ways to dispose of things. If you want to have fun, I tell you what, I'm telling you all the corn mazes, Fiddledee Farms has a fantastic one. That is where Sumner County and Robertson meet. Fiddledee Farms has Shuckles Corn Maze and Pumpkin Patch. And it has just opened. It opened this past weekend. They've got pumpkins galore. You can go out and take pictures. You can buy a pumpkin. You can also have good food like funnel cakes in case you missed one at the fair. And they've got a very, very cool thing. You can walk through the corn maze, of course, and you can go on hay rides. They've got a magic show. And it's open till 8 o'clock every night. But here's one of the very cool things. And the manager decided to try it out before she opened it up for anybody else to try. It's a big, I guess you'd call it some kind of super slide.
Okay, we're ready.
Hold your feet
Say
up.
ready, set, go.
Isn't that adorable? Fiddledee Farms. I love that whole group, and they do so much fun stuff. Well, we often talk about the Heart Association and eating better, and the Heart Association isn't just about having heart balls and dances and things like that to raise money and raise awareness. They also do some interesting things for kids, including their teaching gardens. And agriculture meets with fundraising for the Heart Association and educates kids on a better way to eat.
Heart Association is very passionate about our teaching gardens. It's a national project to increase awareness among children, primarily first grade to fifth graders, about establishing good eating habits now. 1 in 3 children are overweight or considered obese. 1 out of every 10 high school students really don't even get the vegetables or fruit they're supposed to get in a day. Now the norm in America, French fries. That's become the biggest source of vegetables for our children. Almost 1/4 of their vegetable intake are through French fries. So what the teaching garden does is at a very early age, is it starts teaching children about how to make better lifestyle choices through the choices in their food. Clark and Old Country Store becoming a American Heart Association teaching garden. First of all, it's the only one outside of Memphis in this region for West Tennessee, so we're so excited about that. But it's going to be a great benefit to the community because if we teach our children very early on, this is something I think most parents strive to do, about what is good and what's not good and what to do that will bring good impact to your body and what you do that brings bad impact. Hopefully this will be just an opportunity to start creating behavioral change now when these children are young instead of when we're 40 and it's hard to teach us something new sometimes. The American Heart Association knows that it is going to take behavioral change and different choices being made for the nation to turn these numbers around. And when I say numbers, I mean the 1 in 3 of every one of us. 1 in 3 people will die of heart disease. That's not being diagnosed. That's 1 in 3 will die. And knowing that 85% of cardiovascular disease and issues are preventable, and one being the choices we make in our life, and if we smoke, or if we make the right food choices, or if we have activity in our life, we know that we have to start teaching these things young. So this is hopefully going to create behavioral change in our local community here in West Tennessee.
Teaching Gardens, the American Heart Association, and teaching through agriculture, ways to protect our heart. I think that's such a cool way. And you start really young, and then teach a child, bring a child in the way they should grow up, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. Let's hope that's what works in this case. We got storms coming in from Ivan affecting Florida, affecting all of the East Coast, where that storm surge is going to go through there. What does that do when it affects the places where our citrus comes from, where our gardens are planted, where a lot of our food comes from that side, a lot of the gardens? Well, it affects everything. Let's look to the recent storms that we had down in the Louisiana Delta, where some of the crop damage happened. My friend Tammy Arender covered that, and we can extrapolate that to what's going to happen after Ivan, and just think about our farmers and how they're going to be affected.
It's a caravan of combines at Condrey Farms in Waverly, Louisiana. Harvest 2022 of their soybeans is underway. They also have cotton and corn across several parishes. But it was the soybeans that suffered the most when the rainy and moisture-filled days dragged on in what is usually a dry August.
We're ready to harvest and recoup the benefits of all the work we've done. And what happened the other day is, it's a gut punch. It really is tough to deal with. It was a perfect bowl before the rain, and then now, like I said, when my picker hits it, it's just going to fall off on the ground like that.
Their cotton crop also took a hit. Jason Condrey says they were just days away from defoliation and harvest.
By staying rainy and wet for those 5 days, a lot of the seeds sprouted, which will hurt your grades. We had a lot of bowls that had just cracked, and when they get wet, it's called hard lock. The cotton in the bowl will really draw up tight, and it won't fluff back out.
So those sprouted beans are all damaged.
And down the road in neighboring East Carroll Parish, Dustin Morris devastated by the damage to his soybeans.
But there's been an enormous amount of soybeans harvested, between 15 and 30% damage. It is variable, but it is a lot of acres and a lot of bushels were affected. But you're right, the emotional side of this, of knowing that you worked really hard, you had a great crop in the field, and it got taken from you on the 1 yard line. I mean, we were fishing across. We needed 7 days.
Goes from kind of okay to bad there.
Bobby Skeen is the executive vice president at the Louisiana Cotton and Grain Association.
But we're hoping that Secretary Vilsack acts as quickly as he possibly can to sign on to that disaster notice and make the official declaration so that we can see what the possibilities of any type of level of assistance that so many of these farmers are going to need. We can't stress the fact enough, we are in a dire situation.
That's because Morris, Condrey, and other farmers feel in this situation, crop insurance will not cover the loss.
The damage scale and insurance do not work well together. It's insurance, even though you buy a quote-unquote revenue protection policy, in the end, you're really buying bushels. If you had a nice policy for bushels and you still harvest those bushels, the way the insurance is written, you are not entitled to compensation even if you come up greatly below your guaranteed revenue. So this is a perfect storm.
And these farmers say they won't know the full consequences of that storm until every bean is harvested and cotton ginned. I'm Tammy Arender for RFD TV.
I want you to think about that and how that affects us in Tennessee. Well, you think about it if you wear anything made of cotton and those places where it comes from in our country. I mean, that's why cheap t-shirts and things like that, it makes a big difference. And soybeans are in everything. And so the drought, and then the rains that came right at the last minute, it causes issues. So now think about the storms and all the products that we get from Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all those along that eastern seaboard that we're going to have some issues after this storm. So prayers over our farms and prayers over our farmers, because they do supply everything. Well, we are moving offices, so we might look a little different the next couple of weeks. So we might have a little bit of a different show. I'm going to be taking us on the road. We're going to be visiting some places in Middle Tennessee. Be sure that you watch on Sunday, because we're going to be airing a brand new show called Devin's Table. And it's going to be Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock. Hopefully you will be able to give a visit and see if you like it. I'll be doing it with Sylvia Gagnier at Green Door Gourmet. Have a lot of special guests, and some friends from the UT Extension Service will be joining us as well. And I cover a lot of places, like a place to go and find special old cookbooks that's here in Middle Tennessee you might not know about. It's just a lifestyle show, just to give you kind of a delicious Sunday morning experience. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Be safe, be kind, have a great weekend. And remember, as you go out and do what you do, that you are loved. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you Monday, or I'll try to see you Monday. It's going to be kind of a crazy as we move, but I'll see you in one way or the other. Okay? I promise. Have a great weekend.
We are home, we are family, we are things to do and places